You're listening to the Vacation Rental Key with T&T, the podcast for vacation rental managers by vacation rental managers. I'm Tim Cafferty, and I manage two companies, one in Virginia and one in North Carolina. And I'm one of the two T's.
And I'm the other T, Tiffany Edwards, born and raised in the vacation rental business. I help manage our family businesses from Key West all the way to Kauai.
In the next 30 minutes, we're going to give you our keys to success in the vacation rental business.
Hey, we are back and better than ever. I'm Tim.
And I'm Tiffany.
And this week, Tiffany, summer is approaching. Spring break is behind many of us. And I thought it would be a good opportunity for us to talk about productivity. Productivity keys for you and for your company. And I know you have some great ideas on this.
I think that this is always a buzzword, productivity, and how you measure that, but it really is such a personal and business review. And I want to basically touch on some things that I have done recently and from a personal perspective to be productive, but you really need to be looking at this time of the year, overall within your business, different lines and different communications and different processes to make sure that everything is as productive as possible when you move from one high season to the next high season.
Well, I know you personally have some routines that you follow because I know exactly when I can reach you and I know when not to even try because you have some things you do for yourself on this as well that I think people can learn from.
It came with time, but having my hand in so many different businesses on so many different time zones, and then also having two small children, I have decided a long time ago that I just couldn't do it all. But the one thing that keeps me stable is number one, having a morning routine. So there is the same steps that I follow every single morning, no matter where I am in the country. And it starts with a walk in the morning and writing out some of my to-do lists, and then not having coffee, surprisingly, until an hour after I wake. So I read a study a long time ago that if you have coffee within the first 20 minutes that you wake up, your cortisol it's so high. And then if you add coffee into it, it stays high for the rest of the day. And so instead, having that kind of come down, walking, writing out your to-dos, kind of creating a little bit of a brain dump, that helps me. Then I start my day and then I start looking at emails as opposed to waking up frantically, grabbing a cup of coffee and looking at what emails I have missed from, those who are awake during the hours that I was sleeping.
How about even before you wake? Are you a cell phone in the bedroom person or do you keep it away?
But I am really big on having a do not disturb. I also have a bedtime routine as well. And so I do not have my phone anywhere near me for the hour before I go to bed. And so that I read before I go to bed and I have a whole nother process there. But no, I can't ever turn it off if I know that light is buzzing.
Yeah, I know so many people that sleep with the phone right there. And I just wonder how well they sleep because it's something that I used to do, but now I can't even hear that thing. It's in the next room. Of course, I have adult children now. They're not in college, not in high school. I don't concern myself with middle of the night phone calls too much. And we share the bat phone amongst the staff. So we share that opportunity to lose some sleep. So I think that's very important. And I love the idea. You also exercise in the morning, as I've just recently embraced this opportunity. And I'll tell you, I just feel so much better after that.
I am a little crazy, if anyone has listened to our past podcasts, but I am a little bit crazy on my exercise. And I also would like to say that this is dropping in April, and Tim has stuck with his New Year's resolution of staying really consistent on exercise. But again, that cortisol really at the very beginning in the morning, having something working your body, it does help tremendously for you to process things throughout the day. So I'm a big believer in it. I feel better. I make better decisions throughout the day. So that is a non-negotiable for me.
Yeah, I go to the gym every other morning. And we have a crisis at the gym. There's a group of us. We see each other every time. The gym is closing for a week for painting. We're all like, what are we going to do? Oh my God, what do we do in the morning now? But we'll get through it and we'll be just fine. And so one of the other things you mentioned to me is removing points of frustration or friction that don't serve you well. That's a great thought. Tell us more.
Yeah. I had to do some deep digging on this. And one of the things that I did, and I would suggest for anyone to do when they're feeling overwhelmed with workload, high season, take 3 to 4 days. And what I like to call is it's a done journal. So you wake up every morning and you write everything you've done from the day before. And if your done list is dealing with more laundry, UPS returns, groceries, try to figure out ways that you can pull away at those points of friction because they're preventing you from actually getting the things done that you need to get done. So I will, full disclosure, laundry is my point of friction. Returning things at UPS, my point of friction. And I realized I was spending hours and hours delaying laundry, having, more time trying to find something and less time actually getting the work done in emails or spending time with my family, which I needed to be more productive because I was thinking about all the things I didn't want to do with the laundry. So really look at your done list. It really only takes about 4 days and see what's on there. What are you spending the majority of your time doing? And is it stuff that you can delegate? And is it stuff that you shouldn't really be doing because it's creating additional frustration within your household?
Yeah, I'm big on calendars, and folks who know me know well that I don't know if I could function without my Outlook calendar. My thank you notes are done every Monday at 11 a.m. It reminds me, but we have moved to a family calendar. Have you heard these things called the Skylight calendar? Your schedule's on there, my schedule's on there. We know what's coming up, and those last minute stressors like, don't forget, I'm going to the doctor this afternoon or whatever. You're on your own for dinner or whatever the case might be. Those kinds of things, they seem little, but boy, they've been game changers for us, and probably so for you because yours is multiplied by mine.
Yeah, and we're just getting in a faster paced world. So again, when you're in these high peak seasons and you have to stay late or you have to come in early or there's a big project that's due, it's great to have that listed out on a calendar and from a family perspective so when you have some give or pull time. And
how about as you said, you have things that you get done. You do that list on a daily basis. Do you do like a weekly list and then refine it? How does that work?
Yeah, so that has been one of the single best changes outside of like my actual morning routine, because again, I do travel so much. So, everyone writes out kind of a list of all the things that they have to do or things that come in or an email that comes in. And we'll talk about this a little bit more about the calendar because the calendar is something I also live by for productivity. But being realistic about what your to-dos are. So every Sunday night, I write out for the week. I'm able to look at my week on that Skylight calendar with my family of what actually I have. Because if I'm traveling for a day, I know that my Wi-Fi might be limited. I know that I can maybe only get a few things done. So I know on Sunday night, I write out a full list of everything that I need. And then each morning, I assess what I can actually get done realistically, 3 to 4 things for the day. And it is unrealistic for you to think that you can get more than that done. Now, this doesn't include emails. You can schedule some of that out, but 3 to 4 of your larger projects off that list can get done in one day. And then you can reassess kind of each morning. I use that walk because even though you list something out on a Sunday, there's still stuff that comes up in your mind. Like, oh, the kids need a physical. I need a dentist appointment. Oh, I've got to send out for employee reviews. It gets mingled and it stays in your head while you're walking and doing something or exercise. It gives you an opportunity to just kind of leave it out there. But again, you have to really understand how much you can get done and be realistic about that expectation.
Yeah, the 20-item thing to do doesn't always work well in our industry. You get first 3 or 4 done, but number 17 was never seen. How about one more on personal productivity? We're going to dedicate about 1/3 of the podcast to personal productivity, 2/3 to the company coming up, so hang on there. But another thought I have about personal productivity, energy level, making sure you're there fully present, is nutrition. Breakfast, 3 meals, 1 meal. How do you approach that?
Well, I am also kind of crazy about my nutrition. So I'm a little different. I don't actually eat breakfast. I don't eat it until about 11, but I have my coffee every morning. I have my collagen, I have my peptides, I have my supplements in the morning, and then I go exercise. And it just works out better for me than to be on a full stomach. I am not one of those people, and I do have some nutrition background. But I'm not one of those people that believe that you have to be intermittent fasting or you have to eat 3 meals or you should have small 5 or 6. It's whatever works for your body and for your schedule. So it works better for me that when I come home after the gym, after the kids are gone, that I can sit down and eat, have a breath to myself, look at my day, and then move on. I don't eat again until much later. And my portions are like the size of an 800-pound man. But that's what works best for me. The other thing too that's really important on a personal level, guys, is as much protein as you can get as possible. It keeps you full. It keeps your brain working. It's one of the best things that you can do. Stay away from processed things. And if you're eating, eat heavy protein.
Yep. And stay hydrated. That's the other thing. As you've seen me take swigs of water here already through the podcast, I can't tell you how many days that I got into a habit of skipping breakfast, and then I'd forget to eat lunch. And before I knew it, it was 5:30. That's not a good plan. So I do a breakfast after I work out, do the protein, lots of water, and the energy level's pretty good through the day. All right. How about anything else on personal productivity before we move into some really meaty stuff that people can look at in terms of their organization?
So these are all personal ones for me based on everything that I have going on. I think the biggest thing is routine. Figuring out something that, again, you don't have those friction points, but you can create routine so that you do have more time in your day to dedicate to larger projects that you wouldn't necessarily have time because you're so busy in your head trying to deal with things that don't really matter.
And give yourself grace.
Yes.
That's another one too. All right, so one of the things I'm really fired up when we talked about this podcast was looking at the business side of it and how we need to look at processes, particularly this time of year. A lot of us had a very busy Easter time frame and spring break, and we probably know where some failures occurred, so we can look at those right now before maybe the in-season time frame starts for a lot of the beach locations. Let's look into that business side of things. What's one of the top ones on your list?
So for me, it is annually checking processes. And big part of this, I don't feel like we did this annually before because we didn't have the technology that came out that had new workflows, right? That, the Breeze way where we could take pictures straight in. And we just had something last week with an onboarding that I was visiting a site and did not understand how we were taking a screenshot, moving it to someone else, printing something out. It's this whole hour-and-a-half long process with 3 different people. And so there are constantly new workflows, automation, opportunities within your software system. So we try every year to kind of take another look. The actual intent of the process stays the same, but how can we make that more efficient? And again, that goes back to what are your or the individuals in your company's friction points so we can create better solutions?
Of that. And if you do not recognize some of those softwares that Tiffany just mentioned, well, you need to go back and listen to some other podcasts, because if you are using Excel spreadsheets or Word docs or anything like that to do some of this stuff, well, you are setting yourself up for a tough summer. On that whole operational integrity thing, I look at it, and I've said it many times, the mirror test. Regularly holding up that mirror to your business. If you are constantly answering the same question or fixing the same broken appliance in that property, that's a failure of the system, not a lack of time. So once a month, maybe audit your most frequent interruptions. And if a task interrupts your workflow more than 3 times, it's time to build a system to fix that. What do you think?
I love that, Tim. We realized in one of our companies that we had major AC issues. And, every year it's like the year of leaks, it's the year of ACs, it's the year of roofs. But we noticed that a significant change, and I believe I mentioned this on a previous podcast, but because we weren't doing the necessary spring cleaning, or we needed to up our AC filter change outs. And so creating a better process for that actually saved us from having to deal with that 4th of July. My AC is out in 4 different units. We have nowhere to move you. So thinking through, I like that idea of your suggestion before. If it's 3 different times, or how did you? I can't even remember what you had exactly said.
Well, I said if tasks interrupt you in your workflow more than 3 times, it's time to build a system so people aren't interrupting you, making sure you have a permanent fix.
That's it. So if it's interrupting more than 3 times, like Tim said, take a look at it.
It's one of the keys. All right. So Appreciate you writing that down, Tiffany. That was really good. But I want to pick up on that. Rolls right into my second point here in terms of business productivity, and that's proactive maintenance as a time saver. You mentioned the air conditioning. We just went through crises with air conditioning over the Easter holiday. We even had reached out to the owners. Hey, make sure you get your preseason AC checks. Actually, many of the ones that broke down supposedly had those checks. So it makes you wonder what the vendors are doing when they're checking those ACs. But view property maintenance as a productivity tool, especially at this time of the year. A broken AC in July, was it take 10 hours of coordination? Whereas a serviced HVAC in April takes 0 of your peak season time to make sure those things are working properly. Treat your off season as like a system building season. Invest time when things are quiet so you can be strategically lazy when things are busy. You have a process, you know you went through this, and you know what to do. Emergencies are going to happen, but you don't want it to be a pandemic.
Yeah, and I think it's very easy for you to run a report within your software system to see where you've been spending money, especially from a maintenance perspective. I know for us also water heaters has been a big one. So we've added water heaters just to look at when we do some of our spring cleaning or inspections, just to see how old are they, how are they looking. And so that's not something that, we're having a vendor go out, but we're adding it into our routine inspections and views.
Leads me to another thought here on that kind of the blocks of getting ready. And that is, I would term it intentional focus and what we call the row the boat mentality. And I know you know this, Tiffany, and others who have been around me know about my love for PJ Fleck. He's the football coach at the University of Minnesota, and he has this row the boat philosophy. In terms of, think of like a Olympic rowing event. Everybody who's rowing has their back to the goal, right? You can't see the future. You can't change the past. You can only control the oars. So if you go in my office, you will see oars on the wall with the term row the boat. We even have shirts that say row the boat. Your job is to focus on the oars, those daily habits of excellence. Don't check your email first thing in the morning. Instead, tackle your big rock, refining your marketing strategy, or whatever, for 90 minutes or so before those waves of guest requests start hitting. I am the coxswain. I know where we are headed. You got to trust me. Your job is to row the boat in whatever job you have. I hope that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. Absolutely.
Okay.
And I'm getting you some more rows.
We've got them all over the place. When I say row the boat, sometimes I just get rolled eyes. I'm rowing, boss. I'm rowing.
Going into because this is another key for me, and we've talked about this in terms of the calendar, leaning on what you said for not answering those emails right away. I think having conversations with your team or for yourself of saying, where do I really find myself most productive? And if you are answering emails, you better make sure that if you have an opportunity, you have a template and a response, that your team then also can go through an SOP and they have lined out what their templates are. That, again, creates a lot more productivity, but also keeps in line with your processes. And so those are things that you need to review. I also am very big on when I answer emails, and my Mondays and my Fridays, because I always know so much is going to happen, I don't schedule any meeting calls those days if I can help it. Mm-hmm. So my meeting calls are always scheduled and they're stacked on Tuesdays and Thursdays so that I have the opportunity to see in what all came in from the weekend, also if it's first of the month, I have the opportunity on Monday to prepare myself. And then have enough time for those Tuesday or Thursday calls, and then Friday before the weekend starts to follow up so that I'm not so behind when Monday happens. And I've made that very big change, and it has helped bring me up to a high productive level.
So do you have any guilt when you put that phone on Do Not Disturb or out of office message?
Never. Now, it is rare that I put an out of office because I do try to respond, but my phone sits on a do not disturb. And a big part of that is because personal texts come through, and a lot of times that can also detract you. I can see when someone is calling, but it's not going to alert me and feel like I have to stop from that project, that 3 to 4 items that I have to get done that day, and distract me to have to answer it. So I am very diligent about my do not disturb.
Okay, good. So I shouldn't be offended when I don't get a text back right away. Okay, got it. Now it makes perfect sense. You're not necessarily ducking me. You're in going dark mode is what you're doing.
Yes, I'm notoriously bad about text responses.
No, you're pretty good. You're pretty good about that. I think as well, there's an ecosystem here. And you need to professionalize your hospitality ecosystem in your company. The real productivity in a job comes from knowing your role. Are you the concierge? Are you the marketing person? Are you the CEO? So the concept is you want to shift from doing to designing. If you're the only one who knows how to handle a specific crisis, you have created a bottleneck. That is not good, folks. Tribal knowledge is not what we're looking for. We need to have a team concept. We need to create documentation or SOPs like Tiffany did. And I will say that we created like 180 SOPs 2 years ago. Done. Nope. I looked at some of them a few days ago. Like, we probably need to look at some of these. And so make sure they are still working for you. But make sure there is a protocol. The downloads from your brain into a manual frees up your mental bandwidth for growth.
Yeah, I think that's so good because I actually was having a conversation with someone earlier today in an employee review and had said, my goal for you is to be able to, for you to make the decisions knowing what my brain would want and I just get an update, right? So knowing your role, but also empowering someone to be able to make those decisions so that they can row the boat is really important. So you got to take some of that front loaded time, but also from a productivity perspective. So if you're doing any type of training, that's additional administrative work. So don't think you're going to get your 3 to 4 things done in a day because that's additional overhead that you're going to have to answer to and create some oversight until you can get them graduated.
Yeah, I love that. And that trickles all the way down to the interviewing process. We have a position open within the company and interviewed a person earlier this week and asked some pointed questions. And sure enough, all the red flags started coming up about, I have this system and I have this notebook and I carry this notebook home with me and I highlight this when I've done the task. And if it's highlighted in green, I know I need to follow up. I'm like, God, if this girl has a stroke, the company's going to be real trouble.
Sticky notes everywhere.
Yes. So you have to empower your people to do things, but make sure they're doing it the way you want it done. That will save you in the long run. So I've got another one that may be a little difficult for some of our folks to swallow, but bear with me on this. I think high standards can be used as a shortcut for productivity. It sounds counterintuitive, but being a perfectionist about your standards saves time. When you hold yourself and your properties to an elite standard, you attract better guests who treat the properties better. High-end guests, in my view, cause fewer issues. They require less policing. They leave better reviews, which automates your marketing through word of mouth. If you have high standards for your properties and your systems, it's a shortcut, folks. I'm telling you.
I think that's so, and I think that a big part of that is over communicating with your guests. So it's not only marketing to those type of guests, providing that type of service and expectation for those guests, but over communication, again, through tools of saying, this is what we expect when you leave the property. This is how you're going to receive the property once you enter and we welcome you. I think that that is such great advice. Everyone, again, I know I've said it before, underline, highlight, write it down. That's a great productivity.
It's a key. So I'll give you an example. Earlier this week, my owner acquisition team and I were talking, and they were sharing with me a Facebook post, which I don't go on very much. And so it was talking about one of our competitors and what a terrible experience they were having as a property owner. And so some of our property owners were chiming in saying, well, you could go to this company, my company, but they don't take everybody. You're going to have to do some work for them to take your house. I was like, yes, that was real validation for what I was just talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And think of the hours that you would be spending trying to compromise if you're just trying to bring every single owner on. And ultimately, it isn't a relationship that works.
Any other kind of business hacks? I call them hacks, but productivity focused items that we could think about to wrap this up for our folks listening today.
Yeah, so I just mentioned before about kind of that overhead. I think a lot of times within our industry, and I've heard this so many times, is people think they need to add more and more to their business, like more services in-house. So we're going to take over the golf carts, or we're going to, provide, the beach chairs ourselves, or we're going to do the concierge. Really look at your business at the end of the year and say, did we actually make money from that, from how much time was spent? And a lot of time you don't. Stay good at the things that you're good at and be productive from that point of view, because you can only get better with those higher standards than opposed to trying to be overwhelmed by having your hands in too many things and being all things to the guest. The guest doesn't expect you to be all things, right? They expect you to have recommendations and to lean in to help provide those services with someone else. But I think a lot of people try to add more and more on, and that's where additional time gets pulled away from your productivity.
Yeah, I know many of you watching and listening out there, and we have this gene that says, just give it to me. I'll just do it. It'll be quicker. It'll be faster. I know what to do. I'm telling you, you're going to have a stroke. So don't do that. And this is not a guilt trip. I'm not talking about anybody specifically. This is just reflection and experience talking to you, and made it 63 years so far, so we're pretty good.
If you are in a productivity slump, or someone from your team is, send them this podcast, see if that they can identify some of their friction points, or maybe your team, and bring it back and have a discussion. I think these are, like you said, 180 SOPs and still have to go back. These are constant conversations you have to have. So save this and make sure you send it.
Love it. Okay. Well, I hope you all got something out of that. Some keys to productivity as the season is coming ever closer for those in the beach markets. And those of you who are coming out of season, maybe a good opportunity for you to reset and look towards next ski season, which I know the folks out west, it's going to be better next year. Don't worry, it's going to be better. So we have some good stuff lined up for you in the next few weeks, so stay tuned. We'll talk about what the season looks like. We've got some other operational stuff on the list, and so we appreciate you. Please give us a 5-star review on any of those podcast apps that you listen to. If you're watching on YouTube, go down there and click that thumbs up and subscribe. We appreciate it. And Tiffany, I appreciate you taking the time.
The time that we now have, because we're just so dang productive.
That's right. I've got to go get some stuff done. And we're right on time. So until next time, so long, everybody.
Bye, guys.